Chatham House launched the new project to discuss how to develop an international system of governance in a globalised world. Britain's Foreign Secretary was there to comment on a new book on building an international order and spoke of the changes in the world he recognised.
Global, real-time interdependence. And the economic crisis is the best example of that. But if you want to see the difficulties of people in the Bangladesh Delta with rising seawaters, you can see another example of it. I think that is a big change. The second big change is the shift in the balance of power. I think that in the 1970s, people got a bit overexcited about the shift from the national to the international level, but there is a shift. I'll come back later to say why I think nation-states are still a very important part of the answer, because in the 70s I think they were rather dismissed. There's a second shift, obviously, from west to east, but there's also a shift, and I think this is really important, from governments and corporations to individuals. I call it the civilian surge.
He also talked in depth about the worldwide economic crisis.
There are two forces pulling in opposite directions as a result of the economic crisis, and the truth is no one knows what its geopolitical consequences are going to be. One force is pulling towards more economic nationalism, more protectionism, more, you choose your metaphor, pulling up of the drawbridge, creating the fortress. And that's real. People want to look after their own first. But maybe we feel this particularly strongly given that we're hosting this G20 summit in London on the 2nd of April. The opposite force is that it's so obvious that these are international crises, not just a financial crisis, but an economic crisis with its roots in $147 a barrel oil. There's an opposite force which is towards a renewal of multilateralism.
Attention then turned to what the international community wanted for Afghanistan.
We've got a very, very wide range of organisations seeking to support good governance by the Afghan government, because no one wants to be in Afghanistan to create a new colony. The international support that there is to help bolster a sovereign government. And I do think that this is a central theatre, really, now, where the international community rightly makes demands of Afghan governance, but it's got to look at itself as well if it wants to produce the right kind of support.
On the issue of climate change, he felt there were tough negotiations ahead with developing and emerging nations.
The great fear of the developing and emerging countries is that, in fact, the battle against climate change is going to be used as an excuse to hold them back. And the great challenge for the richer countries is not just to put our own houses in order, to change the basis on which we run our economies, it's actually to find ways of financing mitigation and adaptation in the developing world and in emerging countries and emerging economies. And I think that is so in a sense, that is a profound political question. And the cruel irony is that some of the wealthiest countries are most protected from climate change's effects, and it's going to hit the poorest countries the most.
He was then asked about a lasting peace in the Middle East.
There do need to be two secure states. There needs to be a secure Israel, and there needs to be a viable Palestinian state. But actually, you need what I call a 23-state solution. 22 states of the Arab League plus Israel, not just a two-state solution. And that speaks to a more comprehensive political process and political, I don't like to call it bargain, but political resolution. Right. You are enlarging the problem. You're bringing in extra factors, but you're also bringing in extra actors to help resolve problems. I mean, Arab states can offer Israel normalization of relations. That is a big offer at the heart of the Arab Peace Initiative.
The British Foreign Secretary feels in today's world, nation-states need an inclusive global settlement with responsible sovereignty.